Torching can be all fun and games until... Ah! Welcome back to Fixed Dish, everybody. This is a video I pulled out of my archive. This is from last summer, doing a Mast rebuild. I didn't quite get the footage that I wanted, so this isn't really a full-length Mast rebuild, but more of like a tips for torch work specifically. I've talked with and worked with a lot of technicians over the years, and a lot of them are very uncomfortable with the torch, and it is a very helpful tool, very useful tool. So hopefully in this video I can describe and show some of these tips that I use. With every job that you get into, you want to assess what method you want to use to do the repair. There's lots of ways to skin a cat on this one. Usually you can use hammer, chisel, air hammer, and then ultimately you might have to get into torch work. Now as we progress through this video, you'll see how I make these different assessments and how I employ each one of those techniques. As you can see here, these lower rollers are all blown out. That's the whole reason why we're doing this rebuild to begin with. Now, assuming you have a pretty quality air hammer, you can, most of the time, just air hammer these rollers off fairly easily. So you can see that didn't work, so now we're going to bring out the hot wrench. So going along in this video, I'm going to go ahead and critique myself. Don't wear synthetics when doing torch work. You'll know right away if you do something horribly wrong, because when synthetics melt your skin, well, it'll peel the synthetic off as well as your skin. Leather gloves would be more appropriate for this. And then if you look down here in the corner, you'll see that my torch is in need of repair. Always inspect your equipment before you start. Actually, right after this video, we replaced the entire regulator to torch tip assembly. This is a very old set. So we went ahead and upgraded to a newer, larger set and got some swivels on the end so that type of wear that occurs where it splits open the hose doesn't occur as easily. So what you've been watching here is me cut the outer shell in half to get the actual roller bearing off and down to the race. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and cut the inner race off. As you've noticed right here, I changed out to a more appropriate glove. Now, when it comes to cutting the inner race off, speed is key. You'll notice on that earlier part of the video and some of these later ones, I actually preheat the outer shell a little bit before I cut. Makes cutting slightly easier. When you're cutting something that's more crucial, you want to avoid preheating and focus more on the cut itself. So like most of us, we don't use the torch every day, so it takes a minute to get kind of acclimated. I highly suggest practicing doing stuff like this on non-crucial or old parts that don't matter. On this first one, I don't do as smooth of a job as I could have. And later ones you'll see how much quicker I can do it. But basically what I'm doing is nipping away just the material of the inner race. If you ever get your torch blown out while you're cutting, you can always restart it with hot embers or open flame. So this is something that can happen in torching. You always want to make sure all your equipment's ready to go. In this case, the nut that attaches the tip to the body of the torch became loose, and the gases leaked out and ignited. Alrighty, now that we got all that excitement out of the way, let's get back to cutting. And because I had to stop there, basically the little bit of heating that I did on the inner race has transferred into the stub shaft, kind of acting like a preheat. So I need to let this cool down a little bit before I go back and cut. So I just need to nip off what is left holding onto that inner race. Now I know that was kind of agonizing to watch, but I promise you it gets a little bit smoother out from here. All right, we got one cut off under my belt for the day. Now we're a little bit more comfortable. Let's see how smooth we can make this. All right, we're gonna start with cutting off the outer race or the shell. And you'll do a little bit of preheat here. As you see, I go across with the torch, trying to add a little bit of heat into the shell. It makes it a lot easier to cut. I don't want to risk cutting anything on the mast rail side, so I angle my torch out. I know some people angle in to keep that preheat going. I don't want to cut any of the inner race, and I don't want to cut any of the mast rail, so that's why I cut in this orientation. Then I'll go ahead and flip it 180 degrees, make another cut, and this outer shell will just fall right off. So what I did with the outer race with a little bit of preheating before I cut, you want to avoid that completely when it comes to this inner race. Speed is key, like I said earlier. So you'll notice that once I get ready and in position, I'll go ahead and start heating just the outer edge so I can start cutting immediately. So to try to explain how this works, the inner race here is not physically a part of the stub shaft. So if you get after just cutting, it'll blow away that material, and that inner material is not preheated, so it's not at a critical temperature that is cuttable. So that's why I was saying, if you just get after the cutting, chances are you're not going to damage any part of the stub shaft. And done correctly, like I do here, you can basically just pull that inner race off. It released all of its ability to hold onto that stub shaft, and it just comes right off. So that was some of the lower rollers. We're going to move around to the upper part of the mast now, and you'll see that I assess each one individually. On these ones, I was able to use the air hammer on it. Comes right off. No need to use the torch, no need to have any of those hazards, and comes off fairly easily, very quickly, as you can see. Now this next part might upset some people, but you have to understand what it is that I'm doing here. Yes, I am putting on the new bearings. Yes, I'm using a sledgehammer, but I'm using it more like a hand hammer, and I'm relying more on the inertial weight of the hammer. I'm just kind of one-handing it here. Now when I get moved around to the upper ones, you'll see how I'm doing it more. But as long as you're not banging on the outer race, you're not damaging any of the balls, any of the seals, anything. If you're just hitting on the inner part of the race, that's the part you would drive anyways if you used a race driver. So here you can see better what I mean. I'm just striking the inner portion of the inner race, not the outer part of the bearing, to drive it in. Now you're probably asking yourself, why don't you just use a smaller hammer? I'm not using a small hammer because you have to hit harder to get the same amount of force to drive it. And with smaller hammers, you have a smaller contact surface. That means that you have a higher likelihood of damaging the actual race when driving it on, because you'll have to hit it harder in a smaller area. These big hammers like this have a lot of inertial mass. Just give it a little light tappy tap tap, and it'll move that race, and you're not going to damage anything. And if you're wondering who that is that's just kind of hovering around, that's our co-op student. He's here to learn and kind of watch what we're doing as he goes through school. Now this job is over the course of the day. It's a lot of air hammering, torch work, sledgehammers, etc. All that stuff's loud, and make sure you wear your ear protection, because after a full day of this, I promise you, your ears are not going to be happy. And if you do this for a career, anything that produces a decent amount of noise over a few seconds, just wear it. You'll thank yourself later. When you start air hammering stuff like this on odd angles, it does get cocked off to the side a little bit. Kind of puts it in a bind, gets it hard to get off. But you'll see that I just straighten it up by hitting a little bit at the top, and then it comes right off.
Question is, can you do without fucking it up?
And I can hear some of you guys now. Why don't you use a sledge blow or dead blow hammer and hit it on that way? Yeah, you can do that. It does kind of work, but usually you end up hitting it so freaking hard, and you're hitting it more on the outer race than you are on the inner, which these bearings are not designed to be hit like that. It's designed to be hit on the inner race. And you can see also how little effort I'm putting into just driving those on there. Just a little tappy tap tap, and it goes on very, very easily. Alright, now back to the bottom of the mast, which it seems like a pattern on this. The lower rollers don't want to come off and need torched. The upper rollers came off just fine. Now when I do these jobs, I have a rule of thumb. If I hit it with a sledgehammer a couple times or air hammer a few times and it doesn't move, it's getting torched off. Kind of like I said earlier, speed is key on this type of stuff. I'm not sitting there messing around all day trying to cut that outer shell off. I'm just preheating and just getting after the cutting. And it still rolls around very easily. Like, you don't have to hit it and drive it and use pry bars and all that stuff. You can just kind of roll it by hand. Real time here, we just get after the cutting, just get that tip hot enough so you can start cutting and just cut straight away. So like I said earlier, this is something that takes some skill. You do have to practice this. So I would take old parts that don't matter and practice cutting off sections of something without damaging what's below it. I even have some of my newer technicians take old bolts and blow the nut off of it without damaging the thread of the bolt itself. So here's another look from the side. Hopefully we can give a little more context as to what I'm meaning. With the outer shell, just a little bit of a preheat and cut it straight off. And then when we get to the inner race, don't mess around, just start cutting. If you're kind of wondering what I'm doing here by waving the flame around all over, I'm just seeing if there's any combustibles that are going to light off before I start cutting. I don't want any surprises like I had earlier. After every one of them that I cut off, I always make sure I emery cloth it up a little bit. I want to verify that I don't damage any part of the stub shaft and see if there's anything wrong with it, but also it makes putting on the new one slightly easier. So even though this job is being done in the shop, I'm doing this as if I'm out in the field, teaching our newest mechanic, who will be a field mechanic, how to do a lot of these things by himself. A lot of you guys know when you're out in the field, you don't really have help. You gotta learn how to do a lot of this stuff by yourself. So yeah, he has help guiding it on, but I want him to see how it goes together so he can understand the process and method of putting it together. As you can see right here, he's kind of struggling with the tilt cylinders being in the way. So I give him a tip of using a strap or something like it to hold them up out of the way. Again, another tip for when you're working by yourself. Hopefully you guys found this helpful in some way. If you have any suggestions for myself, put it in the comments below. I'm trying to increase my following as much as I can. If you have anybody in your life that likes mechanical equipment or videos like this, share it with them. As always, like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time on Fixed-ish.
I'm going to go down to where it kind of touches. And I need to come back up off of it. Alright, so that's touching. Okay. Now what we're going to do